Welcome to the Livvin for Food Pod. I'm your host, Olivia Bria, and today I have a very fun one for you in the next cookbook launch of the month. My convo with Dan Churchill, who just released his newest cookbook, Eat Like a Legend. Dan is a chef, athlete, and performance coach. You may have seen him on TikTok as the, quote, healthy chef, or as a contestant on MasterChef Australia Season 5. He's been known to work alongside some pretty well-known names, such as Olympian Lindsey Vonn or Chris Hemsworth for his role in Marvel's Thor. Our conversation spans from healthy dessert alternatives to his love for cashews, and is coming to you one day later than planned because I had some travel delays, but bear with me on that. So please join me in welcoming the very fun Dan Churchill.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Also, you seem like you have really incredible people skills by just talking to me, so I think you're good.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's funny. When I was in high school, I was so shy. And it wasn't until I got to college that I kind of really came out of my skin. But yeah, like in high school, couldn't talk to anyone. Couldn't talk to, like, it could have been like the bad skin or, just being like, a middle child or whatever. But I really felt like my confidence really came out when I was in college. So
Oh, me too.
yeah, felt the same.
Oh,
Did you go to school in Connecticut?
I did. Yeah. I went to good old Massac High School, shout out. But no, I barely talked to anyone. I was very like honors, AP. I had select friends. No, I barely talked to anyone. So shy. Like if I told myself I was going to be talking to people on a podcast in high school, I would have literally thought I was like the craziest person on the planet.
And so what brought you out of what brought you out of your shell?
Honestly, I think the friends I surrounded myself with in college probably. And then when I went abroad in college, I realized like how little I should care about what other people think, and I should just go up to people and talk to them. So that really was it. And then my job helped a lot.
I guess your job definitely helps a lot. I mean, I feel like you have to be dragged. Like, it's almost like you're attracted to your job due to the skills you probably were attributed to. And your skills naturally probably were just to have converse with people, as you are now. So I reckon it was just always hidden inside of you. You just had to wait for it to come out.
Yeah. Well, likewise.
Chanto. Yeah. I just held on to it because I had so many conversations and confidence to give. So I just had to like wait until it was the right time to give it out,
And now you have a successful TikTok page and all that.
Oh man, like you're the perfect I guess audience for that. So thank you so much for giving me credit on that one, mate. Because like TikTok, I don't know. I think TikTok's something that I'm still learning. Candidly, I'm still learning the nuances of the platform. I've been doing content for a very long time. It's funny, like all these people have blown up in the last 2 years the way that short form content has done its thing. Like I'm an OG. Like I did it when still photography was what like Instagram was. So
I remember my eighth
when
grade
you were like
photography
8th
photo.
grade. Oh my god. I'm done. You really are my You're like actually my TikTok genre. This is great. Do you do the dances? Tell me, do you do the dances?
No,
Are you a dancer? No. Okay.
I
Go
do.
on.
Sometimes I do recipe videos, but honestly, I'm not consistent enough with it. I have to like feel like I want to do it. But no, I will say during quarantine, I did a few dances, but that was more out of boredom than anything else.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, hey, there's always a time and a place. I did dancing, but not on video. I just decided to do some salsa dancing. Always give it a go. But yeah, I know. Yeah, it's just so you know, these hips don't lie.
Okay, well now we know what your next series is going to be, and
Oh,
it's you
God.
salsa dancing.
Yeah, it's funny because like I was on social this morning and I saw some this dude was doing bachata and I'm like, fuck, I can do bachata, and this guy was blowing up and I'm like, shh, I'm never going to go outside my realms. I'm always here to help people, be the best they can be through food. But yeah, like the bachata game is not bad. I reckon to the average Anglo-Saxon white dude from Australia, I'm pretty much up there when it comes to salsa and in particular bachata. I'll tell you that much.
All right, I'm taking your word for it. I'm going to look at your page. I want to see it. Just saying. It's recorded.
Oh yeah, shit. This is being recorded, isn't it? Yeah, fair. No, there you go. It's in video, not even in writing. It's in video.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. All right, so let's reel it back a little bit, talk about your background a little bit, tell people
Sure.
who you are. You achieved a master's degree in exercise science, turned it into culinary arts. I was reading through your upcoming cookbook, Eat Like a Legend, and it seems like you were extremely active when you were young, simultaneously trying out cooking. What was one of the earliest meals that you remember successfully or not so successfully making?
That's such a good question. So the earliest memory of something not good. So I do remember when I was making pasta for the very first time. It took like I remember starting making dinner at 4:30, and mom and dad were so patient. I didn't serve dinner until like 11 o'clock at night.
Oh gosh, my parents would sleep.
So like yeah, like legitimately, they were just so patient. They kept coming in, checking in, and things. And it was like, oh my god! And I didn't realize until after, like, we're off to bed. I'm like, holy crap! They waited so. And so there was that side of it. There was also the like I made some terrible cookies. Oh, dude, I made cookies look like they were something out of what you would have seen back in the time where World War II they got sent the driest biscuits in the world. It was so bad, man. It was so bad. And I think I look back on all those times, and it's funny because like I cook in people's kitchens and I see their basic fundamental cooking skills.
Mhm.
We all start somewhere. So like for me, that was my moment for that. But then going forward, it was only way up. It was like, okay, well then they became half stale, and instead of taking 7 hours to make pasta, it took 5 hours and then four. And so yeah, you just learn. You learn a lot from it. But yeah, man, that was like I'd say my two worst moments were the amount of time it took me to make my pasta, and then also the driest cookies that actually didn't have any sugar in them as well.
Ah,
So they were like sugarless cookies. And then my younger brother, this is the worst part, my younger brother made them as well. And because I had set the bar, he was like, oh, that's how you make them. And they were just as bad. So then I set a really bad example for my younger brother.
okay, well, did you redeem yourself now and make him pasta and cookies?
Oh yeah, so like I tell you this much, like my new cookbook's got some like macadamia cookies that's
Hmm.
phenomenal and have gone through just like I wouldn't say hours, I'd say like years of work for understanding how to perfect a cookie and make the average human know how to make them. So yeah, I redeem myself, I'd say, and same with pasta. Like I do pasta at the restaurant like almost every second day, so it's a lot of fun and I can do it quickly. So thank God.
Oh, love that. Yeah, as an Italian American person, I make pasta almost every day. So
You do?
perfected it. I make it a lot because it's just like it's so easy, but also you can just throw vegetables in
Mm,
and stuff, and then it's just like
yeah.
easy. Plus, I do mostly like red lentil pastas or like something that's a little more alternative than just the starch, you know.
Those like when they first came out with that and then even the chickpea pasta, I was like a little hesitant. But over the years they've gotten so good at the quality and maintaining like the al dente feel of a pasta, given it's not from the same carbohydrate or protein makeup. Like from a science chef perspective, I was like, no way.
Mhm.
And now I'm like, oh, this is actually really good. And it's a great way to get higher protein. It's an awesome option too. So, do you make it from scratch?
Pasta, I
Yeah.
have a few times when no, honestly, not by myself. It's not something I'll take by
Okay.
myself unless I'm like cooking for
And
someone.
okay, do you speak Italian?
No, I wish. I speak a little bit and I can get around in Italy, but no, I don't. It's my goal, my life
Damn,
goal.
it is. I reckon put that in. Now I've got that on writing because you got to do it too. But I want to speak like parlo italiano. Sto imparando italiano, so I'm learning Italian.
I know that. I
Right?
know that one.
Oh, you do? Okay, good.
Yep.
Mi chiamo Daniele. Piacere. Come si chiama?
Nope.
Nope, no idea. Okay, cool, awesome. We'll just leave it at that then. But just know, I think it's like one of the coolest languages to learn, and I eventually want to do a show where the whole thing I'm speaking to a non in Italian. That would be just like that would be so awesome.
Can you speak fluent?
No, sto famiglia is
I'm learning
Siciliano, so my family is Sicilian, and then I'm learning it so I can eventually cucinare in Italia, so I can go cooking in Italy.
Okay. 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 I lived in Florence for a little, so you would think I would know. But honestly, they speak
Ah,
there.
how do you not know
They
that?
speak so much English there. They're like,
Yeah, it's true.
yeah, it's very touristy there. But then I went to Sicily actually last week, and their dialect is very different from like central Italy. So I was trying to navigate that a little bit more, but I gotta just like put full effort in, I think, instead of doing it little bits at a time.
Did you look? Did you play like the I'm learning? I'm an American. Please help. Or are you like trying really hard?
I
Because like
try.
depends how you come off.
Yeah.
Yeah. They actually don't mind if you try, but then they get to a point where it's like, just speak English to us.
Yeah. They do. I can order and I can understand them because they use a lot of hand gestures as I do.
That's how you know someone's Italian. They
Yeah.
just do this the whole time. I just talk with my hands the whole time.
That's what I do on this podcast. If you see me, just ignore it. I'm talking with my hands. But yeah, I try to understand, and then like if I ask people on the street, I can normally understand what they're saying given the context.
Yeah.
But I'm trying. It's a life lesson that'll happen.
Coming soon, Olivia's own TikTok series plants herself in Sicily and learns how to speak Italian.
You don't have to tell me twice. My lease is coming up, so give me another month or so, and I'll go.
Oh shit! There you go. Just putting out put that energy out to the world.
Yes. You were involved in rugby, surfing. Your coaches were trying to teach you how to eat right in terms of like protein, carbs, fat. But you wrote in the book, like, thankfully, meat head culture is gone, quote, and now there's like a lot of winning, plant based athletes. Is understanding plant based food something you grew a passion for early on?
I think I just had appreciation for like how awesome plants are,
Mm-hmm.
and like I grew up in like rugby culture is pretty dogmatic. And so, like, I still love my meat. I still love my protein. I still love all the things that, like, I get from that experience. But I found as if not a lot of people knew a lot about plants. And I was like, I look at health and wellness, and I also look at flavor, and then just fun, right? Most importantly. And I registered that we can't get the best of ourselves. We just didn't eat enough plants. So my thing as a young male is like, well, if I'm in this culture of like broism, call it, but like I'm also here to help support health and wellness. I can be someone who can be a relatable young male that can support the means of what plants actually do for you. So I always just grew up eating vegetables, and to be honest, like I didn't have the best vegetable experience growing up. Like mum and dad weren't exactly they're pretty plain Jane when it comes to a lot of our veggie game. But I decided to task myself with learning how to use different cooking styles and ingredients and spices and flavors to enhance the awesomeness of veggies. And all I did was just apply that to my mates. And so what in turn shelled out like was the ability for people to make more impressive, more inspired dishes that were irrespective if they were plant based or omnivorous. So including me, they contained a lot of plants, and that's all my goal has been. I still eat meat. I still eat protein. I do, but like I'm just very conscious of how many plants I have a day. So instead of me counting my macros in protein, I count my plant game, and that's what I do. Because if someone was to ask me what's the biggest differentiator in health, it's like number one, cut out refined sugars, and number two, eat more plants. There's a bigger component, and we've seen this in research, that the more you actually have in plant diversity, the better your overall health is. Now, it's got a bigger distinction between if we are plant based or if we eat meat or not. So that's how I've kind of led my life, my philosophy around food.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've recently been doing something similar, but in my head, and I think in a lot of other people's heads too, it's like spinach and arugula. Like that's like the easiest plant based stuff to put in, right? Are there any other alternatives to that you think you could like throw into your daily diet pretty easily?
Yeah, I mean, like in general, you can kind of break it into categories in itself. You've got like your leafy veg, as you just noted, like your arugula, your spinach, your certain types of lettuce, kale, obviously. Then you've got, your hardcore starch, such as like your sweet potato, your cauliflower, your respective yams, even beets, butternut squash, etc. Heartier, much more of a starch energy component for sure. Take a little longer to prepare, but once done correctly or roasted correctly, they're delicious. They also can give off like a creamy texture, so you got that. Then you got like everything from spices and legumes and beans, and so I look at it in the sense like if I looked at my day, like for example today I had my oatmeal bowl, which has got 32 grams of protein, doesn't have any protein powder in it, and already and it's plant based. I didn't know that. I just put like my oats, my chia, my hemp, my flax,
Right.
along with my yogurt, my peanut butter, my walnuts, honey, you name it. That ended up being 32 grams of protein. But for my lunch, I just had salmon with cut up cucumber, tomatoes, some arugula, wild rice, and some eggplant and sweet potato. That's in the next bowl. Then I've got a smoothie. And this smoothie's plant-based. There's a lot of fruit in it. So get dinner tonight, and dinner will probably be, I think I've got chicken or even steak. And so, but they'll come with a lot of veggies. And so the difference between my diet and the average individual is just I probably have an extra 30 to 40% more plants. That's all it is. So with my salmon meal, I had 6 to 7 different plants. Then I had like 5 different fruits in my smoothie. My breakfast this morning contained a lot of seeds, and then tonight, I'll have a lot of spices. And so, that's how I look at it. I've essentially trained my brain to think less about, how much protein I'm having, because I now know I'm automatically going to get it just because it's ingrained in me,
Right.
and really focus on the amount of different veggies I have. And so, just from that day alone, I haven't had to think really about the amount of plants I've had, but it took a bit of time to understand it all. But I've got a pretty healthy gut, and I'm able to recover really quickly. I've just succumbed to an injury as I did last 6 months ago, and my recovery time back to play is much quicker than most because I have lower levels of inflammation and my body's able to recover really quickly.
Oh, so you're a modern day superhero with your plants.
Look, someone calls me Superman, and I just go with it. I just try to embrace it as best I can. I do have a very low resting heart rate, but that phrase was once used, and my brothers grew up giving me shit. So I'm just gonna take the affirmation that one person gave me and just kind of run with it, or fly with it, depending on if you watch Superman or not. Yeah.
This is actually a generalization I've heard for so long, and this is with a lot of people who are really, really into the gym and things like that. But is there such a thing as eating too much fruit?
It's a great question. I'm going to answer the question by stating something that's not generic, but kind of not understood. There is a thing of eating too much of anything. So, if you had too much broccoli, you can actually have a higher intake of a certain vitamin and mineral that's not good for you. So everything, when we say everything in moderation, it's not just contained to the natural things of sweets. I have my biggest issue and my craving and my curse is roasted cashews.
Oh.
I know, it sounds so lame to all your listeners that are like, Dan, give me a break, dude.
Yeah,
are you kidding me? Yeah, come on. But let me tell you, if you put a pound of roasted cashew in a packet in front of me, oh man, don't you dare. I will finish the whole thing. And to be honest, the amount of calories, the amount of sugar out of that, no good. Right? It does have obviously vitamin minerals, but a lot of fat, all these kind of things. So you meant to only really have a handful, I'll smash the whole thing. So yes, you can have too much fruit. Fruit does contain sugar. There's only so many protein transporter molecules our body has for fructose and glucose. So at a time. And so if you have too many excessive amounts of energy from fructose or glucose, they're going to either try to be stored or they're just going to be floating around. In the case of fructose, it can directly impact your liver, which is not a good thing. This is only if you have too much, right? And I think that's something that's we do know that what is too much. Unfortunately, that's not an easy answer because everybody's digestive patterns and ability to absorb are diverse between each other. So like the way that you maybe break down an apple or a banana probably could be more efficient the way that I do. So you can have more apples and bananas than I can. But in general, if it's got a big colourful, I guess, colour of the spectrum, it's much better for you than having your sugar that you get from either table or from a packet of anything like that. So sugar, like obviously fruit does contain sugar. Anything of that is too much of that we know is bad for us. So yeah, of course, you can have too much sugar, you can have too much fruit, but it's still probably not as much as people assume. They're probably looking at fruit going, oh, it's carbs, I don't want that. That's not a good way to look at it. If you haven't any fruit that day, have some fruit, especially if you're very active.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I feel you on the cashew thing though, because I've actually been on a cashew thing myself, which I love sweets. Like, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to like steer away from that a little bit. And the cashews from Trader Joe's, I've just been like kind of eating, and I'm very much realizing that those are way more calories than I think they are.
Yeah, thank you, Olivia, for absolutely supporting my really poor judgment of roasted cashews. You were just like, you just trying to be really nice. Like, you know what? I better come in and save Dan right now on this podcast. But yeah, like legitimately, for those listening out there, we all love the roasted cashew game. And you can say, nah, Dan's lying. There's a little birdie on your shoulder going, he's actually right, but I don't want to agree with him because chocolate's way more the obvious choice.
Okay, chocolate is the obvious choice, but also I was going to say something else that I don't know if you'll love. A lot of dads love cashews.
Wow. Why is that? Wait, are you calling me a dad now? I do have a little bro named Maverick, but...
Comparing.
Okay.
Because
you're just saying I'm really mature and wise, so I'll put that in the same bucket.
You are mature and wise. Because my dad came to mind, and then I've had this conversation with my friends where like dads are obsessed with cashews. So I think it's just a thing.
Could just be it could be. We're gonna put it down to male wisdom right there. But yeah, like I don't think I know many people that don't like roasted cashews. And the thing about them is that when you're eating them, you actually have a lag time in how much they actually make you feel full. The problem with them is that you smash a whole bag of them and you won't feel full until about 30 minutes after you've had them. And then you're like, oh, shit. But like with some other things, particularly say dairy, particularly what you find in, say, chocolate bars, you've got a more immediate response. So call it what you will. Roasted cashews are not the devil, but, too much of them can be.
That's so funny. All right. So at what point in either your schooling or your career did you realize you can combine both athleticism and your love for cooking? What was that turning point for you? Was it when you were working in Australia?
I love that you asked this question. And Olivia, the fact you've done research, I'll be honest, I go on a lot of podcasts and people just kind of like haven't done research. You've done your research, girl. Everyone listening right now, support Olivia's podcast. She does the research for you all.
Thank you.
So when did I realize? It was kind of funny. I was like, I wasn't actually working professionally in a restaurant when this moment took place, but you're kind of like sitting in like a medical room, listening to this like nutritionist talk about this, I guess the science bespoke behind food. And I don't know, like, I don't know if you got any athlete friends or friends who are athlete, and like, I figured that like most of them don't actually understand what the sciencey bespoke going on is. And so for that reason, it's like, well, I was like listening to them chat, and the people had nothing going on. They're like, it was literally going in one ear out the other, but they're doing the nod. They was like pretending like that. And then they'd walk out and be like, dude, I had no idea what she had to say. Like, I couldn't understand a word he or she said, right? And I was like, wow. Wow. So then, like, I understood what the lady was saying. Mm-hmm. And all I need to do is like, hey, bro, like, okay, all you need to do is just make this meal. So I gave that person a recipe. And it wasn't until they came back the next day having made it and be like, dude, that tasted delicious. Was it actually what I needed to do to hit my numbers? I'm like, yeah. And then he's like, can you give me another one? Like, can you sit on the next one with me? So I sat in on the next meeting and I had like a list of recipes I'd made from home. And I'm like breaking down like what micronutrients and macronutrients he had to do to hit his weights and stuff. And so then also I'm like, yeah, dude, this is the right one. So then I'd literally do that for like the next 2 weeks. I'd sit in on everyone's meetings and have the recipe. I was so excited. I was so excited to be like talking about food in a way that like, this is a game changer. And so what turned out to be like me creating recipes for my mates turned into my very first cookbook. And that first cookbook, I then decided to self-publish. It was called Dude Food. So very apparent. And yeah, I self-published it, and that was a really cool experience. It's the first time I kind of went out and sold a product and learned a lot
That's
about business. Oh, dude, yeah.
self-publishing is hard.
Yeah, it's wicked hard. It's so hard.
Yeah.
Because you go through the process of actually making the book, taking photos, cooking all the
Yeah.
meals, writing it, and then you print it, and then you got to get the product, and you got the product, and you got to sell it. That's the funny part. You're like, oh, sick, I made my book, and then all of a sudden you're like, dude, you just forked out your life savings from this book, and now you got to sell it. So it was really, really cool experience. So I loved it. But then what happened was I realized that my cooking skills, although above average for the male at my time, I needed to learn more to help develop, I guess, a greater understanding of basic fundamentals of cooking to teach my friends and ladies. And so I jumped into kitchens, and that's when it all started from a professional environment. So I started doing media, they were like this young chef doing cooking stuff at home. And I was then jumping into kitchens at night time when I was working as a S&C coach in the day, which then turned into me becoming a chef over like the course of 2 years, where I'd be like bouncing around restaurants and like, you know, being a dish bit, and then like jumping into a line and prepping, and then going back to dishes, and then eventually I was actually getting pretty good. And then like, can you stay as a sous chef? And then I did, and then I worked my way up the line, became an exec chef of restaurants, and released another book and did more media, more TV, and then got noticed by America. And that was when I moved over 8 years ago. And, you know, what started out as a solving a problem in the performance space turned into me realizing my passion and excitement. I think you may have seen it. You just heard my voice. It got lit up when I was like recounting that moment, because it excites the hell out of me. Like, it excites me.
I can tell.
And even just today, like the thought of like me sharing this message with you, is like gets me pumped to like get off this call and share more recipes and value add to people. And so, yeah, I realized, like, and people say follow your passion. You've heard it before. You don't work a day in your life. Like, you work, but you work the way you want to work. And, you know, I could be the person who didn't write a self-published book and then just did my thing. But I wrote a book, and I kind of like, I guess I took a leap there. That was a massive leap moment where I forked out my own money. And then I think that was an inflection point. Another inflection point was I decided to work for free at restaurants so that I have the ability to be flexible with my time. So I'd like, during the day is my job, and the nighttime I work for free in restaurants. And like, I worked from an Italian to French to, you know, like Southeast Asian. I bump around, so I'd learn from chefs and everything. So that was another good point I took away from. And then, yeah, all at the same time, like, I felt that when I was learning to speak to a camera, I learned about like audience, and so like how to talk to an audience and how to relate to them. Yeah, and so I think all that was crash course. I kind of threw myself into the fire doing it, and then it's kind of led me to learning a lot. And here I am in New York City 8 years later, doing it all on a bit more of a bigger scale.
Much bigger scale, I think.
Yeah, just a little bit.
That's incredible. Yeah, I was actually, one of my friends just self-published. This is more general books, but she just mentioned to me that most self-published authors only sell 20 books, which is like,
is that right?
Crazy to me. That is so little for like someone who puts your life work into. And I understand there's so many books out there. Like, you have to do so much self-promo, and there's so much like 20 books is just so low for the amount of work you put into something like that. I just thought that was crazy.
Yeah, like I can break down the numbers for you. So like my very first book probably cost me about, and this is Australian dollars, so let me convert. So I'll say everything in Australian, and I'll work in the US.
Okay.
It cost me about maybe $15,000 to make the book. That was like, you know, essentially cooking, prepping, photography, design. Then you had to print the book. And the printing of the book, so I printed I think I printed my first 1,000 copies cost me $20 per book. So what's 20 times 1,000? That's $20,000. I sold them for 40. So like I made 100% on my markup, but that was not taking into account that I also already forked out $15,000. So
Right.
if we work this out, if I sold the 1,000 books all at $40, it's $40,000. My first print run was $20,000. 15. So I only made $5,000 on the 40 that I invested. So I made, which is not big in terms of a margin perspective, but what it did more than anything,
But it's a profit on your first book.
It's a profit my first book, and it taught me more than I ever needed to know about business at the time. And so what happened was my next print run, I did 2,000 copies, and they were $1.10 each.
Wow.
And I already had my CapEx hit on so the CapEx was $15,000, right? The cost to make the book. So then my second book was, $1.10 per book, because I learned from my mistake of going, why did it cost me $20,000 to print 1,000 books? Then it cost me $2,200 for 2,000 books, which I still sold for $40, which allowed me to also go to third party distribution. So I would then go to books, and this is another part. I learned how to sell. So I learned how to sell by going into bookstores and going, this is a great book for young men, but young men aren't coming into this store. So whoever's coming in to buy a birthday present, a Christmas present, their daughter, their boyfriend, the girlfriends, the mothers, the grandmas, aunties, uncles, all that kind of stuff. So exactly. So I said to the lady at the front of the bookstore, I'm like, hey, if someone comes to you and says, I've got a son, I've got a niece, a nephew, I've got a grandson, I've got a boyfriend, brother. You just say, this is the book if you want them to have. It's a cookbook designed for young men. So they feel great because they're giving them a book that's actually empowering. And they also, the guy loves it because it feels a really relatable book. And so instead of me having to go around to all the bookstores, I went to a third-party distribution company. And because I had enough margin now, instead of being only $20 to cost the book to $40 where I sold it, I only had $20 to work with. I had like $38 a margin to work with, so I could get someone to come in, take a percentage distribution away. So then I sold more books because they got into more bookstores doing the same thing, and I was able to do more media. And so I ended up making I ended up making $100,000 in Australian dollars on my first ever book.
That's
crazy.
So
it's like $60,000 American. But that was like a huge learning curve for me. And like how self-publishing can work. But I fluked a lot of things not knowing. Now that I know the reason as to why they worked. But I was still pretty intentional in the hustle that I did to get to where it was.
That's so crazy. Yeah, sometimes you have to take that time for yourself to actually figure out how to do it. But you're your brand, and you were doing that before. Now so many people are their individual brands, but you were kind of doing that before that was a thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's like I really one of the things I talk about a lot to friends in general is building a personal brand, and I talk through experience, not knowledge, but experience. So people can make their own interpretation of it. But it's a really cool thing we all have. Everyone, it doesn't matter how many Instagram or TikTok followers you have, we all have a personal brand. When you think about the first time you go on a date, the way that someone, either thinks you're the right person for them or not is based on your personal brand. If you go to a job interview, you have to represent your personal brand. If you're if you are professionally in it, you think about everything you say is a personal brand. And personal brand is your name, your likeness, everything. And you don't have to have, followers, as I said, to have a personal brand. Because you're still representing yourself and your messaging and your value.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that too. And then, was this before or after you were a contestant on MasterChef? Was the cookbook self-published beforehand?
Yeah, so Dude Food was. So that was published before. And then I in MasterChef for 7 months. Incredible experience. Then after that, I jumped into kitchens. And that's where The Healthy Cook came out as the second book.
Okay, so do you think that kind of helped you aid your start a little bit? How was MasterChef?
Without a doubt. I was doing morning shows in Australia. I was doing not the equivalent of, but I guess the same kind of thing of, say, GMA and the Today Show in Australia. So I was not a chef at that stage. I was just a home cook. But you can't be a contestant on MasterChef unless you're a home cook. If you're a professional chef, you couldn't do it.
Right.
And, like so I started to get like a little bit of a following. But I'll be honest, it was like, if I look at MasterChef, people mostly think about the exposure to you as the best thing to come out of it. For me, it was the 6 months, 6 or 7 months of being in a hyper exposed to the best chefs in your given field, because you have like a new guest chef coming in where you can ask so many questions to. You're in the thick of it. Like, you're in the thick of talking to people about food and cooking and techniques 24/7 for 6 to 7 months. You're traveling to different destinations. You're learning from some of the best judges and chefs, and you're just constantly applying this knowledge. So it's like you're in the most intense MBA of cooking in a 6 month period. So yes, the exposure I got from that show is of course phenomenal. But what I was able to get from skills is unmatched and experience. So, I also learned even more about camera work and how to expose and how to communicate again to an audience.
Face. Yeah.
All the time, dude. All the time. They're like, don't break the fourth wall. And I'm like, I'm in the shit right now. They're like, we can't use that. You swore. I'm like, I'm really in the shit right now. And they were like, Daniel, we can't use that shot. And so I used to play around with.
It was like, cut the onion again. You got to redo everything.
Yeah, I have to redo everything. You fucked up. But yeah, like that was an incredible experience. And if anyone's looking to go on any of those shows, I wouldn't I'd say of the reality shows in the world, MasterChef, Top Chef are absolutely incredible because they hero cooking, they hero food. It's not in any way reality drama. It's about the food, which is so incredible.
If you go into another cooking competition now, it's been like 10 or so years since season 5.
It's pretty funny. Like, I've been asked to do it. I've been asked to be a contestant. I come back as a master's at as in one of the major champions or whatever. And I'm right now. I'm at my career. I love competitiveness. It's just I feel I'm on a trajectory that's bigger than me going on a show. It's like if I was to host the show or be a judge, like I judge Chopped, I judge Bobby Flay, I judge like Chopped Junior, and so for me, my next stage in my career is hosting. And if they do like a tournament of champions and they ask me to do that over here, I'd probably consider it. But
you and Guy Fieri,
dude, triple D times 2.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
you could pitch that.
Yeah, triple D. I'm Fieri. You want $9,000. How'd I go? That sounded more like
that was perfect.
That was more Betty Crocker than anything. So I apologize to Guy. He's a legend.
No, that was perfect. You are a performance chef, basically, but could you explain to people listening in layman terms exactly what that is?
Yeah, so my job became merging my understanding of the human body through an athletic profession and also the food you put in your body to, essentially adhere to that ability. And I combined that into a role where my job was not just a chef, but a chef that was helping you there to improve your performance. So I work with a lot of athletes, the top people at the top of their game, make them ready for game day, be on camps, etc. So examples like Lindsey Vonn, I went to the Olympics with her and the World Championships, and my job was to make sure she got the slopes in the best state, in the best frame of mind to perform.
That's amazing. Are you helping any athletes with the Olympics coming up?
As of right now, no. But there's a couple of guys that have reached out to do certain things just based on where I'm at in my career. It's kind of hard to take on individual projects unless it's super passion project or it'd be really hard right now because the problem that I face now is that if I was to do that, this is once every 4 years for them to be the best of the best of the best at the biggest sporting event in the world, right? So if I'm not 100% for them, it's probably not the best. And to be honest, Like, I can't release a cookbook and do all my other stuff right now and be 100% on someone else. That's why
Yeah.
I'm giving advice and helping them where I can, but it's really hard for me to be fully full-time with them.
Yeah, that's hard, especially. I wanted to ask you too, because I got to bring up your buddy Chris Hemsworth, because he wrote your forward too, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, like, him and then the elite athletes you're working with, he, was Thor, so he's got to be literally in like godly shape for that. I read that he was eating 10 450-calorie meals a day, which is a lot. Do you feel like that's easy for you to kind of concoct those meals, or is that like difficult? Is that a lot of pressure? Is it a challenge?
It's a lot easier for me to make 10 450-calorie meals than it is for someone like him to eat it, to be honest. Like, I can make those meals easily. It's finding a way to make anyone in that situation make it palatable, because like I could simply do 3 things of steak a day and that covers a lot of the stuff, right? With mashed potatoes or like chips or whatever the respective individual wants. But you think about this, like eating 450 calories 10 times a day. Like, you think about your day, you'd be doing a 6 a.m., maybe like 6 a.m., 8:30, then you got like 11, then you've got 2:30, then you got
Very true.
like, if you're eating that many meals, like, the hardest thing is you're just always eating. Like, you're always eating.
Yeah.
And so
sounds like a lot.
it is. So I think it's more it's important for someone like myself to make it at least digestible for them, so they're not just like, there's only like, it's like you're eating a steak or a chicken or a fish 10 times a day. You just like, it gets to a point where you're just like, oh, I can't do it anymore. Even if like you're finishing a really nice pasta, imagine if you had to have that same pasta again in 2 hours. You're like, dude, I'm full. It makes it really hard.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And the forward too was really sweet too. He basically was writing like, and you work with him on a fitness app too.
Yeah.
Right.
So Chris has got, we're a part of this company called Center, which is an awesome wellness brand, which started as a digital company where we provided meals, resources for mind. Like, we have a really good mindfulness section of our app. We have a really good fitness workout section of our app. And so all of that was fantastic and was going really well. And then we expanded now into equipment. So you'll see you can get our equipment from online, from Walmart. We just partnered with Hyrox. And my job started out being just the person who supported the food side of the app, and then developed into someone who helped the performance side. And now I'm working on like a lot of the business development as well as all those other things in the US. And so the growth of the product, and Chris is super excited by this, is the direction we're going and impacting more lives in the health and wellness space. And so you can see that in his words in the book. He's really excited to work with people who have such a passion for something in health and wellness. So that's how we first got connected. Like, we were at a Tourism Australia event, and he was just like, we were yarning about health and wellness. And being Aussie dudes, like, So, but yeah, I think that's what we see now, and even just in run clubs these days, you see a likeness for it and the community. And so with something like Center, we've loved people like posting their meals or going, they're going for their next run or the workouts they do with us. It's been an incredible experience for us all. So if you haven't tried Center, I really highly recommend it. It's more than anything, the community are freaking epic.
I just was finding it when I was researching you, and then I was like, oh, this actually looks really
cool. It's really
so
awesome. Really awesome.
So in continuation with that, basically he wrote in the forward in your book, to paraphrase, he was basically saying that he associated health with bland food, which is what like a lot of people tend to do. But your creativity, your nutritional work changed that for him. What are you hoping that your followers, readers, etc., take away from this new cookbook?
Again, a really good question. My intention from this book is, first and foremost, that everyone realizes they are their own legend, and that if they put themselves first, they can truly understand that. And I'm not saying that you cook for yourself or anything like that, but in this day and age, we still don't put ourselves first. You have to look after yourself before you look after those around you. And so the best version of yourself cannot be met if you don't look after yourself. So let the book stand for, in order to be your own legend, you have to take care of yourself, whether it be mindfulness, whether it be, being intentional with your eating practices, working out, or just spending time with you and reading and whatever it is that you love. So that's a big part of my book. I also want people to learn that cooking's actually fun and sexy. So like, I always use this analogy, but I'm sure, Olivia, as awesome as you are, you didn't crush tying your shoelace for the first time perfect.
I can say I did not know.
Exactly. As awesome as you are. But with cooking, we don't often give it a second chance. A lot of people will go about life going, I tried that meal, it didn't work. I'm like, well, did you try it again? I know you burnt it, did you go back and try not burn it the next time?
Right.
And so I want people to treat cooking as if it is what it is. It is a skill to learn. As I said earlier in this podcast, like I cooked pasta, it took me 7 hours to make pasta. My first batch of cookies was shit. But thankfully right now I'm talking about homemade pasta and making cookies from scratch in my own cookbook. So like it is possible if you put your headspace to look up, put yourself first. And if you looked at cooking like we look at a lot of things about getting the reps in, I always say get the reps in. The same to apply to cooking. So the task that I'm putting to everybody is 1, I guess, pick up the cookbook or pre-order the cookbook. 2, every Tuesday night for the next 3 weeks, make a meal. And it's got to be the same meal. Because I guarantee if you make the meal this Tuesday night coming, it's going to take longer, be more expensive, and be harder than the last time, which is 3 weeks later. Because typically, like, if you look at what you pick up at the grocery store, if you pick up, everyone says going shopping is expensive. I'm like, yeah, well, it's because like you buy probably olive oil and spices all for the first time, but then over the course of the next 3 weeks, you don't need to pick those things up again. So that's going to be cheaper. You're also going to remember the first time you cooked it, I fucked this up. I used too many pans, so I can only use 1 pan, which means there's less washing up. And then the second time, you're like, oh shit, this time, like, I'll go around, I'll put this in the sink, start washing it up before I actually, like, people don't realize by getting the reps in how much they learn about themselves in anything, particularly in the kitchen. So the challenge, make a recipe for the next 3 weeks in a row, every Tuesday night that is the same. So I hope people will get the best out of their performance using all the tips and tricks that I have in the cookbook, from the QR codes to understanding of the nutrition, to the tastiness of the recipes, to the stories I share, but also to really lean into putting themselves first.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think too, it's very easy for people to write it off and be like, "Oh, that's easier said than done." Like doing all this stuff is easier said than done. It's really just about getting yourself to go get the tools to do it. That's really the key. Like getting a cookbook, getting olive oil, getting the basic necessities. And then from there you can kind of play around. Because something that's so awesome about the kitchen is that you can be creative, and it normally will turn out pretty good.
Yeah, 100%. Like, Olivia, I know you're going to cook up a massive storm, but I'd also say to any guys, how many guys do you have listening?
Honestly, probably like half. It's
awesome.
Half.
Awesome. So girls, you also find guys cooking sexy. It is not anything to say it's far-fetched. It is scientifically proven that women love a guy who can cook.
I back that up.
Right? So, guys listening, if you're struggling to get a date, or if you're struggling to look after and hold on to a lovely lady, learn to cook. And girls, if you want to cook, and maybe like, all girls can cook. They're freaking amazing. But fundamental. Like, you guys can. Like, you say you can't, but you can. I'd also say if you got a guy who you just would want to cook, whether it be a brother, potential boyfriend, a dad, anybody, just get him cooking. It is such a cheap way to have fun and learn a life skill. And also, you never know what happens at the end of it. I'll just leave it at that. That's all I'm going to say.
At least perfect one or a few courses.
Yes. Crush one dish. Be known for people like, oh, I can't do this, but I am good. Like, that's all you need. Just crush one dish. Yeah, only the one. Unless you get a third. If you get a third date, then you're screwed. Then you're gonna know 3.
Then you have to hire you, and then
Yeah,
you'll
yeah,
cook
yeah,
for
yeah.
them.
Put me on speed dial, and I'll be in your ear the whole time telling you what to do, like Ratatouille.
Yeah, there's your next series.
Yeah.
So salsa dancing and ratatouille.
Oh my god, that's such a good idea for TikTok. Actually, just like the intro
Right?
could be the like episode 3 of Ratatouille the chef, and here we have my friend. That's a really good idea. Actually, I'm gonna start doing it.
Well, actually, because you do cook for people in their home already, you could kind of influence that.
I would actually have to get them to wear the Ray-Ban see-through glasses, and then I would just be a little video in the corner, and I'd be on my microphone. I can just see it in real time. What's going on? This is amazing.
That's like cooking Ellen. That's like modern day Ellen, but for cooking.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to change lives through food and through the lenses of real-time TikTok vision.
Hey, that's the life we live in now,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Everything like that.
Let's talk about what's next for you. I mean, you mentioned a few upcoming projects, but is there anything
I'm
else
still
you'd like
here.
to share?
You're fuzzy, but I'm still here.
Oh no. Okay.
There you are. You're
Okay,
back.
well,
You're back. You're back. You're back. You're back.
okay. Let's talk about what's next for you. You mentioned a few things and obviously your cookbook, but is there anything else you want to mention? Upcoming projects that are going on?
A lot of TV stuff coming up, but I think the major immediate focus is the cookbook. So I'm putting a lot of my energy into attempting to become a New York Times bestseller. And it's again not my it's not for me. I just know that if that book hits the list, it means it's going to be impacting lots and lots of people. And in fact, there's not a financial thing for me. It's simply like an impact thing for me. And I want this to impact so many people. Like, I really know it will. I know it's going to change people's lives, the way they look at food, their relationship with food, how, they can build relationships out of it and just be healthier and the way they look after themselves. So I know that's my goal. So I'm putting my energy into being a New York Times bestseller.
And honestly, I don't say this about everyone, but I can really, really tell how passionate and how much work you put into it.
Thanks, man.
And that's going to transcend. It will.
I appreciate you, Olivia. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, I have a short game to wrap up
Sick.
everything if you're into it.
Absolutely. I love games.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to say food trends, and you're going to tell me if it's a smash or pass.
Smash or pass? Wait, do you do this all the time?
Yeah, I do this every episode.
Sick. Let's go.
Sometimes I say for or against, depending on my audience, but I felt like you do smash or pass.
Smash or pass. Yeah. That's cool.
All right, cool. First one, oat milk.
Smash.
Really? People are against that right now.
No, I'm a big fan of it. Big fan. Particularly I'm also invested into an oat milk company, but I'm a big fan of, we have one that's like, the company I'm talking about is called OMG. It's an Australian oat milk company. It's seed oil free, so we use extra virgin olive oil. So if you get one that's free of seed oils and the gums and stuff, then go for it. It's really good.
Got it. Okay. Third one, vegan butter.
Oh, tough. I pass.
Same. Third one is whole wheat pasta.
Oh, game on. Every single pasta of the night. Spaghetti, you got a penne, rigatoni, olecchiette. Fuck, I love that shit.
Okay, yeah, me too. I've been recently into brown rice pasta, but then I was like, I feel like that's like a bad alternative.
Yeah.
I feel like it doesn't do anything.
Unless you're gluten-free, just go the whole wheat, dude.
Yeah, I was thinking, okay. Do you want to start advising
Yeah,
me?
I got you covered. I'm your little chef in your hair, just like the ratatouille. Yeah.
All right. Fifth one, black bean brownies.
Oh my god, absolutely! I've got 3 recipes on my website with them.
Okay, I figured you.
I think there's actually a recipe in the book. I've got a recipe in the book. There's black bean brownies.
Is there?
Yeah.
All right, I'll look at
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
See that one. And then last one is Greek yogurt.
And we're coming back. There she is. She's back.
God.
She's back. We're up to question 6.
Okay. All right, last one was Greek yogurt.
Big fan. I have it pretty much every day. Yogurt and berries and honey.
Full fat yogurt or Greek yogurt?
Full fat yogurt. Big fan. It's got all the micronutrients you need. It's so good for you. If you can stomach lactose.
What's a healthy alternative dessert? This is my personal question, but and also my sisters were wondering this because I told them you were coming on my podcast.
Yeah, you got it.
And they have a big sweet tooth. What's a good healthy alternative dessert that you like?
Oh, I've had this maybe once a week. It's so good. So this is going to shock people, but get yourself either a clean chocolate, like a clean protein powder, or just get a cacao-rich powder with, say, hemp seeds, tofu, honey or maple syrup, and Blitz. And it is a vegan pudding. It is fucking awesome. And high in protein. And again, I eat meat, so I'm not vegan. I love it. We had it last night. I put a little bit extra cacao on top with some hemp seed powder. Dude, so good. So
Okay.
it's high in protein. It's sweet, gives you the cacao richness. So I'd say cacao or chocolate protein, tofu, and a little bit of oat milk just to kind of blitz it up with some maple syrup. So good.
The tofu doesn't like ruin it.
No, dude, trust me on this. Trust me. Cream up tofu with chocolate and honey, cacao and honey. You'll just think you're tasting like a whipped cream.
All right, I'm trusting you.
Yeah,
on that.
and you have to FaceTime me as you're doing it because I want to walk you through it to make sure you know exactly right. It looks like this. It looks like that. It's so good.
Okay. All right, I'll FaceTime
Yeah.
you, and then you'll see my reaction.
Exactly.
All right, my final question. This is one I know we've been an hour, so we'll wrap up. I ask every single guest this: if there is one cooking appliance or utensil that you think everyone should splurge on, what would it be and why?
Oh, one cooking utensil. Like, I typically say chef knives,
Mm-hmm.
but I think a really good a Breville blender, for example, is so good to make sauces, purees, mashes. Like, it does so much, and it's delicious. Makes you look like a pro chef too. So I'd say a good blender, because I think the cost of a knife that you get from like a basic knife, whilst it's not the best thing, the difference between that and a chef knife isn't as great as if you get a really good appliance from like a blender appliance from, say, Breville.
Okay, you heard it here first.
You got it, dude.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on. The convo is really great, and I'm excited for your cookbook. I looked at a lot of recipes. I'm not just saying this; I'm actually going to cook them.
Oh, I can't wait. I want proof. The people want proof.
You will.
Yeah.
I'll
Selfies, images, you name it. You got it.
You got it. All right. So you can now purchase Dan Churchill's latest cookbook, Eat Like a Legend, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc., or follow his latest recipes at Dan_Churchill on TikTok or Instagram now.
I appreciate you, dude.
Cool.
Thanks for having me, Olivia. You're awesome. And team, the biggest thing you can do to support Olivia, I'm just saying this because she gives you all this awesome information and guests for free. So make sure you leave a comment, and give it a 5-star review. And honestly, in the comments, let her know what you want to know, because she does it all for free. She loves it. And obviously, the best thing you do to support her is just doing that one little thing. Thanks, guys. And Olivia, you're a legend, mate.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Thank you so much.
Hey, fellow foodies. Thanks so much for listening. And don't forget to leave me a review. While you're at it, make sure to follow me at livvinforfoodpod on Instagram or TikTok, or email me at livvinforfoodpod@gmail.com. Let me know what you're cooking up this week, which guests you would like to see on the podcast, or tell me your opinions on the latest viral food trend. And in case you're just joining me, there is an entirety of Season 1 ready and waiting for you. Until next time.